In a world where information seems to travel at the speed of light and traffic at a snail's pace, where the agenda of those at the helm doesn't always reflect the pressures on the streets, where the rubber hits the road, where there's queue of issues needing to be interrogated in the name of speaking truth to power.
Welcome to A Place at the Table,
where we set the agenda,
table the issues that matter to you,
and invite you to take a seat at the table.
Welcome to A Place at the Table. It's been a minute, hasn't it? As we round off the year, I come with words of inspiration. It's time to live unapologetically. Hello, Kingsley.
Hi, Kate. As though you aren't inspirational enough, I think you are. I'll be speaking on the invisible drain, how our work culture is killing Nigerians, especially women, and how to fix it.
You're right to spotlight those at the receiving end of our nation's dysfunctionality. As we round off the 16 days of activism on gender-based violence, I will be addressing my fellow women who are neglecting the sisterhood.
The sisterhood, huh? Should I and Kingsley feel excluded? Anyway, if you can't join them, beat them. Perhaps this captures the recent wave of coups in West Africa. Keep listening. I'll shortly have more to say on this.
Well, I prefer if you can't beat them, you join them. And that strikes a more conciliatory note with me. I'll be speaking on putting heads together to rethink Nigeria's abortion laws.
As I'll be saying, life isn't a rehearsal. Follow my lead, people. You know how we do it at the table. No holds barred, bold and unapologetic. As 2025 draws to a close, we stand at a remarkable threshold. Not just the end of another year, but the completion of the first quarter of the 21st century. Moments like this invite us to pause, take stock, and ask ourselves how intentionally we have been living. Time, after all, is both generous and unforgiving. It gives us opportunity, but never repeats itself. For young people, this season should be a reminder that time is a currency far more valuable than anything money can buy. The world is fast-paced, demanding, and often noisy, with expectations, comparisons, and pressure. Yet, the most powerful advantage youth can claim is the ability to invest time wisely in learning, in character building, in developing skills, in choosing purpose over popularity. Judicious use of time is not about being in constant motion. It's about being deliberate, choosing what truly matters and planting seeds that will bear fruit long after trends have faded. For the older ones, this moment carries a different but equally important call: live unapologetically, to shed the unnecessary weight of other people's opinions. I know I do. To stand fully in one's truth without fear, regret, or hesitation. With age comes clarity, and with clarity comes the freedom to embrace authenticity. It is never too late to rewrite your story, to rediscover joy, to pivot, to heal, or to shine in ways you once postponed. Whether young or old, the message is the same. Life is not a rehearsal. The importance of living with depth, intention, and authenticity cannot be overstated. As we step into the next chapter of this century, 2026, next year, may we honor our time, speak our truth, and live in a way that reflects who we truly are, without apology, without delay, and without fear, knowing that you are the main character in your story.
All right, so let me tell you the particular paragraph that stuck to me in your advocacy. With age comes clarity. And with clarity comes the freedom to embrace authenticity. It is never too late to rewrite your story, to rediscover joy, to pivot, to heal, or to shine in ways you once postponed. A friend of mine, a couple of weeks ago, shared with me a message that was posted in the family group by her brother-in-law, who was celebrating his mid-40s birthday, I think 45 or thereabout. And it was a reflection of his life, and basically it was almost like a display, an outburst of anger, realizing that for the first part of his life he has been lied to. The things that he was conditioned to believe based on religious doctrine, and some things that he actually restricted himself from doing. But as he grew older, he began to realize that, I should change myself, And unfortunately for some people, when they come to that realization, they just pivot to the extreme. They don't moderate.
It's possible. They're like, I've wasted this much time. I might as well just jump in the deep end.
I have to then just give her advice to say, I know what's going on with him, because I went through that same process when I became 40 to 50 and all that. Everybody wanted to celebrate around me, but I was reflecting and I realized the fact that, hey, hang on, a lot of the things that the more I grew older, the more I had clarity about the things that are around me and the things I wanted to do. So I guess my encouragement to people, especially those who are growing up, is don't be afraid of growing up. Okay? And don't be afraid to reassess your life and come to terms with the things that the feedback that you are getting. Some of those feedback might mean that you have to revisit some of your relationships, revisit some of the things that you believe, some of the ideologies that you have lived by all your life, but be ready to embrace that new you and make a determination that when you go forward with your life, you're going to redefine yourself.
And if I contextualize this based on what 2025 has taught me, it is that consistency is important. And when you're consistent in achieving your goal, even with the little tasks, they look like they're nothing, but they keep dropping them. Just keep dropping them, the big ones, the small ones, the little effort, the mid effort, all of that. They come together to what Maya Angelou says about time, that every achievement requires time.
Yes.
So time for me is accumulation of efforts to achieve a goal, And so sometimes you search, or rather you pursue a goal throughout the year, and it's December, you're asking yourself, I still don't have it. Don't worry. Time requires a lot of effort.
So I love this advocacy because you have advice for young and the old, right? The young ones, the one you said already, there's nothing to add. You have to improve yourself daily. And from what she has said now, there's something I started doing from 7 years ago. I'm not really, I love that there's Christmas holiday, there's the celebration, festivity, but I don't regulate my life or gauge my life based on what happened in 1 year. I understand that my life is a continuous journey.
Nice one.
It's not a one year. So if I don't achieve what you're saying now this year, I have to keep at it, consistency, and with time, those things will finally come to me at the right time, right? So that's just what I've been doing for the past 7 years, and I think my life has been better, right? Yeah. But the older ones, I just want to spotlight this, where you said to stand fully in one's truth without fear, regret, or hesitation. A lot has been said, a lot will still be said, but I want to use this as a medium to beg our leaders to introspect and think, because at the end of the day, they're not getting younger.
Yeah.
A senator stood up on the floor, I think this was yesterday or so, Jos South, right? And he was speaking, even though you could say, okay, yes, it was not completely right. But when you look at the comment section, the comments was like, nobody was expecting anything great from you anyway, right? Yeah. So I think when you get to a certain age in life, you begin to think about your impact, what you're leaving behind, your legacy. Yeah. It doesn't even have to be on that scale. It could just be your family, your friends, those who interact with you daily. What do you even leave a smile on their face? I'm not saying you are spending money. No. How do they feel when they come in contact with you? What would they say behind you? Not necessarily when you're gone, even now. when you're not there and a conversation comes up and say, Elsie, what will people say about you? We should really think, and that would help us begin to look at how we live our lives differently.
You know, when I read this, I had a question, and I'm going to pose the question.
Yes, please.
I said, there's a backstory to this monologue, and the word apologetically was just jumping all over the
Unapologetic.
Unapologetically. Thanks for that. So I'm going to ask Kate, what led to this? What informed this?
So when I saw a tweet, a statement somewhere, I'm like, oh my God, 2025 is really over. And it's the first quarter of the 21st century. In another 25 years, I'll be like an octogenarian. You know, I haven't for a long time not cared what I'm just doing me and staying like this, you know, set my eyes like a flint. Because at the end of the day, you have to answer for yourself. I'm not about that life of time, no day.
Nobody
basically, that's what I'm saying. There's no time. I might as well just do what I have to do, leave the footprints I want to leave. I cannot do everything, but I just want to remind everyone there is no time to muck about. It's urgency.
I think that speaks to what you said in your monologue as well about the ways of other people's opinion.
Yes.
That shouldn't stop you from being you.
No, it doesn't stop me.
And going for your goals.
Yes.
Because
I still want to hear from you. Have I answered your question?
Of course you have. You know, I was going to get some personal meat there, but I'm sure you edited your response. So, but that's fine. For me, there's a statement that drives what I do now. It says, I would rather apologize, I would rather regret what I've done than what I could have done.
that's right.
I would rather regret what I have done than what I would have done.
Yeah.
Meaning that you didn't get a chance to do it.
Yeah.
So you can't regret.
So I've done it.
It's better to do it.
It was messy, but I move on. Then later remember that I could have done that thing and I didn't do it. So I just do it. Good or bad, I've done it.
Yeah.
Just do it, Kingsley. I love it. Time flies whether you're having fun or not. That is a fact. So let's make the most of what time we do have and do leave our mark.
Wow. Like footprints in the sands, right, Kate?
Yep.
Good. So what footprints are we leaving at our places of work? Toxic or healthy footprints? How toxic is your workplace? Now, notice how I framed the question. I had to assume you work in a toxic environment. Behind that scream of, thank God it's Friday, TGIF, that massive relief we all experience during public holidays is a sign that all is not well where you work. Two recent surveys conducted by iHire and Muster reported that about 80% of people in America work in toxic organizations. So imagine the response we'll get when such surveys are conducted in Nigeria. I leave you to imagine that. From manifestly high rates of anxiety, stress-related illnesses, mass resignation, and so on, many organizations in Nigeria are not a healthy place to work. Now, toxic work cultures are created by emotionally unhealthy people. They set up companies or join a management team. And before you know it, their feelings, temperament, and attitudes become corporate policies. One important thing that happens to you while working in a company is the person you're becoming. That person is shaped by a healthy or unhealthy work culture. Remember that petty, uninspiring boss who makes you feel incompetent to the point where you started to doubt whether or not you actually went to school? That's what we're talking about. So toxic work cultures affect women differently. Now, I'm interested in this. Imagine being told to resume work 2 weeks after having a miscarriage. MD said the reason for your maternity leave was because of the pregnancy. And given what has happened, there's no need for the leave anymore. That was someone's experience. Now, what does it take to understand that some women are dealing with stuff, that a little kindness could help put a smile on their faces at their place of work? From terrible periods that come with excruciating pain, to endometriosis, which comes with painful and heavy bleeding during menstruation. Now, some women have reached menopause and it affects the quality of their work. Of course, there are women who are on fertility treatment and they give their best while trusting God for a child. And then you have the PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome. It is a common hormonal disorder in women of reproductive age. It is hard working and coping with PCOS. Now, a good business strategy makes people feel wanted, happy, valued, and dignified in the workplace. In my opinion, I think this is affordable if we try.
In the workplace, I mean, I cannot act like I don't know the level of bias that can come up, even in decision making, and even from your own gender, us, women, right? And I think one of the hardest thing in advocating for empathy for women in the workplace when it comes to conversations like this is that women don't have the same experiences across board.
Yes.
So we talk about PMS, we talk about PCOS, it's not the same thing. Even the period that is general, there are people who are going to the hospital to be able to have theirs. There are people who don't even have one pain, right? So because we then have different experiences, and a lot of people have not trained their emotional intelligence part, you also get women at the back of pushing away the empathy because they cannot understand what you mean by you cannot function because you're on a period. They're like, is it not the same period? You know?
That someone had last week and was here overnight.
Yeah, somebody else probably had a pregnancy that was problematic, you were able to do your work all through, right? Another person needs a different kind of care for their own pregnancy.
Exactly.
You will now hear, we see women that are carrying water on their head and they are pregnant, you know? So we, in that space, it's a bit difficult, which is, I think that's something my advocacy will speak to, maybe not explicitly that way. So it's a bit difficult if you have not decided to enlighten yourself and put in empathy into how you relate with people. But that being said, I mean, I like that you're spotlighting this. It's a conversation that we need to have because that's why for me it's not about equality, it's about equity. What do we need to be able to do the same level of work? I realize that women also overwork themselves because they then have to overcompensate, right? Personally, I would say that I've been lucky. I've had a pretty good career where for everything I have ever done or tried to do, I'm sort of giving that room to be able to choose my time and how it can be done. But I'm not removing myself from the situation because I know how hard it can still get. So thank you so much for spotlighting it.
Women are not homogeneous. So you can't put all of them in a box.
No two women are the same.
And,
That's it.
you know, for men are a bit homogeneous, you know, it's like there's a way that...
It's just about temperament.
Yes.
You either...
There's a way you can easily size up a guy, it's possible.
Yes.
But women are different.
Yes. That's some detail.
And so even if you look at menopause, for instance, the
you took the words out of my mouth. I wrote it here.
The experience of one woman is different from another.
Absolutely.
So if you're trying to map experiences and say, okay, this is what it is, you might discover that you're actually excluding other women who have other kind of experiences.
Exactly.
And so for me, it's about education. It's about getting more enlightened. And I'll give an example, for instance. Before I came to a place at the table, I knew nothing about menstrual health hygiene. All right, it never came to my purview, you know. In any way, I mean, did I not know about menstrual health? Yes, but that it was an advocacy, it was a big issue. No, but being on a place at the table, having phone care, healthy. I mean, we talked about it many times.
Yeah.
I found myself educated about it.
Right.
Which was why, when there was an opportunity in my organization, for instance, I went to have that conversation. And it was a bit striking because I, as a guy, was one advocate.
And
there are women there.
Which is, you see what we're talking about.
So the thing, and the thing was, because I made that advocacy, there was a shift. So now the organization says, Yinka, yes, you're making a point. Because my approach to the advocacy didn't come from the emotive part of it. It came from facts.
Knowledge.
Okay? So I talked about it from a productivity part of it. And once they saw that, they said, we have to do this, we have to do this. And so we started that process in our organization, for instance, of being inclusive in that conversation. So I think that there's a lot of education that needs to be done. Some people just don't know. You know, it's not like they are deliberately wicked or toxic. They just don't know. And maybe what we can do is spend a little bit more time to enlighten people about, you know, some of these topics.
Especially when your workforce has an equal amount of women, let's say 50-50 or 60-40. You just have to have more information at your fingertips, more information available for you to deal with the situation, knowing that women are not homogeneous. When we talk about menopause, perimenopause brings its own
ball game mentalities.
You know, for no reason. And these are not things you might see. The menopause one is mostly mind, you know, and irritation and the slightest things. And so you will say, you know, even some husbands don't know their wives are going through menopause. They're like, you know, next thing, feeling of dread. They're like maybe 50 to 100 symptoms, all happening. Some have none, some have two, some have all 100. So you're dealing with a human being that you as a man cannot understand. Even she have not yet understood herself. So it's important to have more information at your disposal to be able to deal with it.
Yes, I must thank you for spotlighting the diversity of emotional, psychological, and mental burden that women carry in the workplace. And what is striking most to me about your monologue is that you said how the work environment contributes to your becoming. Is that it makes you become bitter or makes you become more accommodating of people's experiences, or it makes you really some tiger in the workplace,
toxic,
you know? And it makes you remember Christian's song, Just a Little Bit of Kindness. So I mean, look at the conditions that you highlighted: menopause, check; miscarriages, check; right? PCOS, check; endometriosis, check; you know, fertility sessions that drain you, check;
even heartbreak.
You know, then again, not just the bosses, but even those your peers, your colleagues who snitch on others. I remember. So no, I'm going to say this. I remember when I was dealing, because this is important. I remember when I was dealing with fibroids, long before I got into this menstrual health advocacy. I'd had multiple fibroid surgeries. Nobody knew in the office that I was dying inside. And each time I left there, but she's not pregnant. She's not this. What's she going on leave for? Do you know? And it was really unkind. But I went through it. It was.
And it's not about being gender sensitive or not. You just need to be a good person. A human being. Change, like low-hanging fruit, is often within our grasp. The question is, are we motivated to reach for it?
Kingsley, not only do some not reach for change, but they even knock the footstool from beneath the feet of those reaching for it. There is a conversation we often avoid: the role some women play knowingly or unknowingly in slowing down the advocacy for women's rights. As we wrapped up the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, I want to thank everyone who participated: the media houses, advocates, NGOs, and volunteers. Every post, repost, and conversation helped elevate this significant initiative. I especially appreciate the men who joined the movement. However, there's still so much more to be done. And in recognizing that more work needs to be done, I want to speak directly to my gender: the women who knowingly uphold patriarchy and those who unknowingly hinder the progress of feminism. I have seen women ridicule other women while enjoying the privileges that exist only because others before them stood up, acted insane, and fought for those same rights. It's easy to dismiss certain brands of feminism as too loud or too aggressive, but guess what? Those so-called loud feminists are often the ones getting the job done. Even the good book says the violent take it by force. Toning down the rhetoric never got women the right to vote. Silence did not produce inclusion. Aggressive feminism did. I remember discussing period poverty on this table, and 2 women at the table called my advocacy aspirational and impossible. Ironically, the men present agreed it was doable and even proposed workable solutions. Again, utterances, actions, and inactions. And to those who actively uphold patriarchy, look around you. The same women who force widows to drink the water used to bathe their husbands' corpses are women. The ones who protect abusive men rather than the victims are women. The ones like Dr. Femi Olalele's mother, who defend their monsters instead of feeling empathy for the abused are women. If your motherhood protects only the child from your womb, then you are not a mother. As we close 2025, let's ask ourselves very hard questions. Are you an enabler? Are your good intentions rooted in ignorance or privilege? Do your actions or inactions harm another woman's rights to exist freely? We can all be better if we choose to.
We can all be better if we choose to. Elsie, spot on. The best for the year. The best for the year. I love, love, love. And I'm just going to spotlight what I love most about your monologue, where you said toning down.
Did not bring about changes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Toning down the rhetorics never got women the right to vote. Silence didn't produce inclusion. I love your take on women violence, because while you are there advocating for the best, there are women pick-me's who are busy pulling down. And I just like that you spotlighted this without those of us who are feminists who say loudly that we're feminists. And I always say that we're not man haters.
Nope.
It's that we are fighting for inclusion and equity. And I think you said it all. There is nothing to add. Just an appeal to women who pull down other women to please understand what this is all about. If some of us don't fight for this, there will be no privileges for the people behind to enjoy.
I once asked this question, and I'm going to repeat it. I said, how many women would report their husbands
Remy.
if
Amazing.
they found out that the man was abusing their house help or their daughter? Unfortunately, silence was the feedback I got. So it tells you that sometimes it's easy to say, hey, crucify him, when it's another man.
That's
But
right.
when it's at home, you now know what this is all about. And I'm going to throw this challenge at us. Sometimes when the camera is on, there are things we do. And when the camera is no longer on, there are also things we do. And you pointed at it. When it's your daughter, what would you do? When it's another man or another woman's daughter, what would you do? If you are not consistent, then your feminism is BS. Pardon my French. Am I allowed to speak French yet?
Yeah. French is a nice language.
So what you won't take, please don't prescribe it for others.
Absolutely.
And what you're fighting out there, please continue to fight in-house. In other words, I posed that same question to my wife. Just in case my daughter says, Daddy touched my breast, what would you do? And she just laughed.
Tough, right?
No, she said, what part of your face will I slap first?
That's what your wife said. Nice one.
So to her, it's like, oh, this is a fake human being. This is what you're preaching something else, and you're doing the same thing. You know? So I think we need to internalize this whole thing and be able to rehearse our actions before we are put on the spot, because it might just happen.
I think since 2014, I've been very involved in the 16 days of activism.
Fantastic.
In many ways. Again, there are many men that are in the
mix.
In the whole mix. They don't necessarily are very public about what they do, but they do what they do. I've been very involved since 2014. I remember after the Chibok girls stuff.
Abduction.
This year, I was in Abuja when we launched the Humanity Index, which is Nigeria's foremost gender-based violence prevention and response database. I'm on the board of the organization, and so it's a lot of work that we do every year in trying to churn out the data. And so there were many data that came out, so it's true there we know that a significant part of gender-based violence is intimate partner violence.
Yes, that's it.
And many other things. But there was a particular set of data that got my interest. And two sets. One was that 6 out of every 10 Nigerians have never heard of anybody being convicted for GBV.
For GBV.
And 1 out of every 2 Nigerians are not even aware of GBV laws. Now, I asked myself why. Why is that the case? Because that's my own approach to dealing with issues. I always like to look at, okay, so away from the emotional reactions, what is there? And then the data also provided it that the average spend on GBV in all states in Nigeria is, not even the average spend, the average allocation is 0.6% of the budget. In fact, the reality is that there's a higher allocation in northern states than in southern states.
Okay.
All right, on GBV. And when you look at the spend, that's just allocation. When you look at the spend, it comes down to 0.2%, which comes down to about 345 naira per person.
Per Nigerian.
Per Nigerian.
345 naira?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what that tells me...
Is it per year or per day?
Per year.
Per year.
Okay.
So what that tells me is this. There's a gap. People don't know about the GBV laws.
Yeah.
People don't know about
implications, penalties.
The penalties. People don't even know those who are convicted. A lot of the noise we are making are just social media noise, and it's just within
the
1 or 2 million
community of
people.
activists.
Yes,
and
it's not getting out. So the question for me is, how do we get it done? So for me, my approach is not outrage. When we are trying to solve this problem, we have to look at all possibilities. Okay. And one of the biggest possibilities, one of the biggest narratives we have to look at is how do we bring more men to the table to have this conversation. Yeah. I feel that a rhetoric or outrage or whatever that basically puts men as villains, the same men that are going to approve the budget, that are going to approve a lot of things, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. I think that to a large extent, we have to look at this not from a gender perspective, in terms of men or women. We have to look at it purely from a perpetrator versus victim, because the perpetrators and victims are gender neutral. They are from everywhere, and we must not make this whole conversation a woman's issue, because by that gender coloring itself, even though it appears that the data says that more women are affected, we are, by that in itself, negatively impacting their advocacy. So that's my perspective. It's not, I don't say that it's the way it must be, but that's the way I see it, and I believe that we have to move this needle forward. We have to confront that perspective.
In Nigeria, where patriarchy rules, tone down nothing. I'm sorry. Women have been at the receiving end of so much. You don't even want to have an inkling of what is going on. Tone down nothing. Because when it comes to things of women, most men, I'm not going to generalize, or some men, they just can't be bothered, cannot be bothered. And then we have women who support them in these evil practices. I just want to, Otanya, I'm sorry, I've left Tinka, I'm not dealing with feminism. I believe that women who support evil against other women and children should be persecuted, should be sent to jail. We have Felicia
special treatment.
No.
against those women.
No, they must be equally treated like the man who committed the act. I'm
Yes.
sorry, you gave him the avenue. So Felicia Gbajua, that Ochanya's auntie, she must be in jail. Femi Olaye's mom should be locked up for a few months because of her age. Let her cool down. Anybody that is female in his family that supported him should, let me tell you, you gave access, you condoned it, and it wasn't his first time. Thank you, Elsie. I know you a bottle of champagne for that. Because they condoned it all this while till he became this doctor,
Monster.
which I refuse to call him, and then you become
And you start attacking everybody that's trying to get justice.
Because if only you ladies, women had told him it's wrong. We too are women, and it's like kidnapping when it happens to people in the National Assembly and Senate. Then they start opening their eyes. Wow, we have to protect our family in the village. We have to. You people will not take notice until they rape your child and sexually abuse her. That's when you people take these things seriously. Let's be human.
Like Kingsley, I say it all boils down to our individual choices. What about you?
Choice is a weapon for change indeed, Elsie. When it is exercised collectively, some call it nation building. Tonight I was going to talk about taxes, an issue that affects every Nigerian. But the events in Benin have caused me to pause and reflect. Once upon a time, West Africa was the poster child of Africa's democratic renewal. Soldiers retreated to the barracks, constitutions were written, ballot boxes replaced bullet shells. We called it the democratic wave. Today, that wave is ebbing, slowly at first, now visibly. Between 2020 and 2025, Africa has recorded roughly 14 coup attempts, with about 9 successful. Many of those in West Africa, the region once held up as a standard, but now tagged as the coup belt of Africa. Not because its people do not love democracy, but because many political leaders failed to govern accountably, to feed their people and protect them from jihadist terrorists. 3 of these countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, pulled out of ECOWAS and formed the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, a parallel structure. The 2-track West Africa emerged, one democratic but struggling, the other autocratic but confident. Each insists it speaks for the people, yet they have under-delivered. GDP growth rates in these countries are lower than it was before the coups. Cross-border trade is not even existent. Security has not improved as the guns didn't go silent. Terror still reigns unabated. And then came Benin. Nigeria, on invitation, acted swiftly, first diplomatically, then militarily, helped by note Babel, but driven also by self-interest. A coup next door is never just domestic news. It's a border risk, it's a refugee risk, it's a trade risk, it's a security risk. And so Nigeria pushed back, and for once, the world nodded in approval. But this is more than a foreign policy win. It's a test of credibility for ECOWAS, for the African Union, and for Nigeria itself. If we defend democracy abroad, can we strengthen it at home? If we shut the door on juntas next door, can we also shut the door on democratic erosion within? Let the courage we show outside our walls be matched by integrity within them. Let this reflection point translate into an inflection point in our polity.
If we defend democracy abroad, can we strengthen it at home?
It's an obvious response.
Let the courage outside our walls reflect. What was that you said?
Within it.
Home is where the heart is. We have failed, Africa, most parts of it, at working with democracy. Our leaders have failed
West
to
Africa.
govern with accountability. It seems democracy is not working for us, but we're the quickest to hail it outside. So why not bring it home? Because we have these leaders going outside to see the gains of other citizens in other countries, in other climes, when democracy is truly applied. But we come back here and we say, no, it's only going to be word of mouth. Africa as a whole has failed its people, and that is why I believe there's so much coup. And even though Nigeria sort of protected itself and people hail them, they're like, this one is going to give people the idea that they too, they can stand up. And if it works for us, fine, but nobody wants war. I do not want war. But, like Elsie said previously, it is time for our leaders, I use that in quotes because you ain't leading nothing. Look inward. The time that you think you have is not there. The shade you should be building is for the younger ones or the citizens to sit inside and enjoy gains. There's just so much you can do with cars, houses, and all the jeeps. Come on, leave a legacy. Let your name be, more important than the material gains around you. Let your people, Africans, truly enjoy democracy.
For me, West Africa especially, ECOWAS, I don't know. I don't know what's happening. We cannot act like we do not know why these coups are happening. There was an African analyst, I was watching his interview on one of the New Central program, and he was talking about how these military men you talk about, they see the injustice in real time. When there has to be money moving in Ghana must goes at all and all. They are the ones moving these monies for these politicians. So if they see the actions and can feel the pain, and they are the ones that would also go home and they don't have enough to take care of their children, why won't coup be a plan that will come up in their minds, right? So it's happening everywhere now. Yes, we are acting as Big Brother Nigeria, whatever. But at the end of the day, we need to bring it home.
Yes.
And thank God this is an international station, like you said. We're speaking to every leader, West Africa especially. There is a lot that could have happened in West Africa. We've talked about our train being able to, if I'm going from Nigeria to Benin, I don't know why I'm spending so much on transportation.
But whether it's by air to South Africa, by road, then you come to
right?
Benin.
There is a lot that needs to be discussed. And the question is always, when you go to your meetings as the heads of states or presidents, what do you discuss? What is the KPI? What is the goal? For me, for every meeting I get into, even when people, yes, we human beings, we have a tendency of going away from the conversation, but I always bring people back. When we are living here, what are we doing? And until they begin to think about the people that they govern, the people that they lead,
they are supposedly.
This is the beginning. So it's not just a case of we don't want military, we don't want this, we don't. Don't you think it's a consequence of your actions and inactions? That's where I'm going to leave it, really.
Jinka left out you left out France's interference in the coups in Africa.
I didn't want to get it. So,
now, that is a narrative that you can't gloss over. You see, the coups in Africa, they are dictated outside of Africa. Whether it is against the government or pro-government. I mean, Guinea, there was a coup in Guinea. It was the sitting president who wanted to doctor the election. He couldn't. And he staged a coup. He invited the military boys to take over.
Can you imagine?
Now,
allegedly.
Very well. I like that.
President Jonathan was on the spot. And he said it all, that this guy lost the election. But he didn't want to go. And he invited the military boys. How can you, who is being ousted, announce your coup? Announce a coup. You're not the one that should announce. But that's by the way.
Ridiculous.
In Benin Republic, the French Macron telling our president to intervene.
Is this proven though?
Of course.
Okay.
What is his interest?
What is it?
And what is our president protecting in Benin Republic? Is it democracy or the interest of France?
No, his relationship, if it's proven, then it's his relationship.
So it
with
is not an altruistic intervention. It is not a democratic intervention. Now, so my take is this, and I'll drop the anchor on this. The Western interference in Africa is overbearing. It is getting in the way of governance in Africa, and especially West Africa. And that's because there are just I think 2 countries in West Africa that are English-speaking.
Nigeria,
Ghana. Correct. The rest are Francophone countries. So France actually run West Africa. That's the truth.
Yeah, so my question is the blame?
Yes.
Is the blame
Why are they
France?
losing the grip?
So is the blame to France? or the people that allow France?
Very good question.
Now, there's enough
good
blame to
question.
go around. There's enough blame to go around.
God bless you.
Now, the first thing is this. Who enabled France's interference? It is colonialism. So they've been there and they remain there. They choose who leads the people.
Okay.
If you go against them, they assassinate you somehow.
Okay.
That is what happened.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to toe Kingsley's line a
Yeah, I
bit.
saw you doing that.
Yeah.
Check, clock it.
Yes. Why? Because, first of all, one of the most popular monologues I did this year was the one that centered on my visit to Cotonou, to Benin Republic. And while I was in Benin Republic, I saw a lot of infrastructure
Development.
There was a lot of building going on, roads, buildings, and all of that. So, and my guide said to me that the president was popular.
Talon.
To my surprise, I woke up to the news of a coup.
Cool. Yeah, okay.
And this is where I align with Kingsley that
Outside influence.
so I sent a text to my friend like, your country, what's going on? I would tie that with what I read on a WhatsApp group earlier this morning about the interference of the West in the affairs of Africa and how China has been able to extricate itself to learn from many years of dealing with the West to begin to dictate the pace to the West. And that is what Africa and her leaders need to do. The interference of France is overbearing. France is overbearing. They didn't even do indirect rule like the British. They did direct rule. So they've colonialism is, the shade of colonialism is crazy.
France is like our politicians now. They don't want to go anywhere.
So the onus is on African leaders.
Thank you.
West African leaders. I'm neither here nor there with Nigeria's interference or intervention in the coup in Benin. But this is a sign to all those governing West Africa that you can't sleep right now. You have to be awake to see how you can stand your ground, assert yourself, and push back France.
It is said that those in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. I say that those in glass houses should ensure they build good defenses both within and without. Over to you, Funke.
Certainly, Yinka. Good defenses can look like how well we have put our house in order with policies that support and protect every citizen. I have been touring rural Lagos alongside the Women Advocacy Research and Documentation Center, WOTC, screening a movie and engaging directly with women and some men at the grassroots whose voices are often unheard. Each gathering started with a panel of discussants, followed by a town hall conversation. And at the center of the honest, open conversation is unsafe abortion. Statistics show that Lagos is facing a silent emergency. A new study by the Leadership Initiative for Youth Empowerment reveals that unsafe abortions account for 37% of all pregnancy-related deaths among women in the slum areas of Oshodi, Isolo, and Mushin. These are not just numbers, they are women navigating poverty, stigma, cultural pressure, and a health system that continually fails them. The study also found that 37% of respondents had undergone an abortion, many in unsafe conditions. Financial pressure, partner rejection, fear of stigma were the main reasons. 86% of these women earn below the national minimum wage, and safe healthcare is out of their reach. Now, the documentary revealed painful realities. Women turn to unsafe abortions because of rape, incest, and life-threatening medical complications. These women are therefore at the local governments asking the federal government to amend the abortion law, because criminalizing abortion is not preventing it. It's even making it more deadly. And people find a way around the law. Around the world, countries are recognizing that restrictive laws do not stop abortions. They increase unsafe procedures. So reproductive rights advocate Dr. Lena Wen says the question isn't whether women will get abortions. The question is whether they will survive them. And so from Latin America's recent reforms to ongoing debates across Africa, the global trend is shifting towards protecting women's health rather than endangering it. So here in Nigeria, the proposed Criminal Code Amendment Bill 2025 seeks to criminalize the supply of abortion-related drugs with a 10-year jail term, forgetting that the VAP Act, Section 38, requires that survivors of sexual violence receive comprehensive medical and psychosocial support, including emergency treatment that protects their health and dignity. That legislation will deepen the crisis. So I ask for clarity, compassion, and courage, because Nigeria needs to really rethink her abortion law.
I think this is the first time on a place at the table that we're having this conversation. And that tells you how difficult it is, because it's something that I think a lot of people would rather just avoid having that conversation about it. Now, in Nigeria, abortion is illegal, okay? Whether you're looking at it from the criminal code or the penal code,
everywhere.
It's illegal in Nigeria.
Yeah.
And the only exception is if the life of the mother is threatened. Or
the life of the
And that itself is not very specific. It's very vague in that fact. So essentially what it means is that in any medical facility, public medical facility, you can get reproductive health services like this. Yeah. And that's why, your advocacy looking at the laws, we must look at the revision of the laws to see what are the exceptions that we can give, and to be a lot more, reasonable with it. Our laws doesn't make exceptions for incest. Yeah. It doesn't make exceptions for rape. Yeah. It doesn't even make exceptions for the advancement of technology right now, to the extent that in the womb, you can know the state of a child before the child comes in.
Thank you.
And then it
Prevention of birth defects.
It brings up the question of choice.
Yes.
It doesn't even say, okay, is this 6 weeks or what? It doesn't say anything. So I am for the revision of the laws to look at this. I won't go as far as, really, I still want to stay somewhere in the middle somewhere, but I acknowledge your courage in starting this conversation.
As of last month, we were going to hit 9 million births this year.
In Nigeria?
Yep, this year. That's the total population of Israel.
9 million births.
In 2025.
Okay.
Yep.
So we have 9 million children that are below.
By the end of this year, we might hit that figure.
Wow. Not a bono.
So whoever is listening to us now, please just put that somewhere. 2, we cannot develop economically. I repeat, borrow 1 billion
every Eke market day.
The mouths that will swallow the money
are waiting.
Yeah, and we are not producing. So that I know
children,
that population is an advantage when it is a pool of talent. Now we have a population that is
draining.
Our capacity is not so strong. So the more we born, pardon our French, the more we born enter trouble. And I'm going to drop on this. China is a world power today. What we don't know about China is abortion policies helped China to manage its population.
So I want to pick from what Kingsley has said to also say that this is a very important and sensitive conversation. because it's almost swept under the same area when you start talking about family planning. And it's almost like family planning can never be given the right attention because the people that are supposed to, again, legislate this laws are people that have multiple wives and want multiple children, right? So it's a conversation that we need to have. And I want to highlight very quickly just this part of your advocacy where you talked about the proposed criminal code and then also having VAP Act. And that talks about how, I think we've talked about it on the table where there is no interconnection and relations among the laws and the
policies.
What do they call them? MDAs. They are not communicating with each other.
Collaborating.
There's no collaboration. So I know there's no time, so I'm going to leave it at that. The family planning conversation is something we need to bring back to the table.
37% is a lot.
It is.
37% is too much. It's heading to almost 50%. It's too much.
Qualified,
Definitely.
37%.
Just to round up, revisit the abortion laws. Definitely, please, because there must be extenuating circumstances that will help them, widen, whatever policies that have to do. Because criminalizing it will mean that people will find more hazardous and harmful ways to get around it. Yeah. And then you lose both mother and child in the process. So let's put humanity before it.
As you can see, we have used every inch of our time intentionally and unapologetically.
Yep. This word.
What about you? You keep the conversation going till we meet again at the table, same time next week. For now, it's goodbye.
Bye.